Are you a woman standing at a crossroads, eager for change? It's time to connect with your authentic and empowered self at Boss Leap. Join Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker in this empowering community where real-life stories of courageous and talented women inspire and motivate. Engage in honest conversations that foster well-being, drawing from our own journeys. Let us guide you toward profound growth and transformation in both your personal and professional life. Here are your hosts, Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker.
Welcome to Boss Leap Podcast. I'm Dr. Sylvia Morris, and every week, Dr. Angela Walker and I sit down with women who are rewriting the rules. Women who don't wait for permission or the perfect moment and don't let fear have the final word. They leaped. And today's guest, she is a definition of a boss leap.
And I'm Dr. Angela Walker, physician, entrepreneur, and the other half of this dynamic duo. We are Boss Leap because we believe that the leap is never really about leaving something behind. It's about stepping fully into who you were always meant to be. And friends, today, conversation is going to remind every single one of you just how much power you are carrying, even in your hardest season.
Our guest today is Sonya Keshwani, founder of Style Esteem Wardrobe.
But Style Esteem is so much more than fashion. Sonya's Grace with Style Initiative supports a vast patient community through beauty and mental health programming and Turban donations, because Sonya has never forgotten where she started or who she is building for. In addition to leading Style Esteem, Sonya serves on the board of Twist Out Cancer, is a Susan G. Komen NYC Power Ambassador, serves as Rear Commodore at the Old Greenwich Yacht Club, and is a faculty member at Columbia University. Sonya envisions every Style Esteem headpiece as one-of-a-kind crown for the modern man and woman, a symbol of empowerment and self-expression for everyone, regardless of their gender, cultural background, or hair journey.
Sonya Keshwani, welcome to Boss Leap Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be back in the presence of you inspiring ladies today.
And we are so honored to have you here.
Absolutely.
But before we get into Style Esteem and learning about headpieces versus turbans and all of the things, we want to know who Sonya is and where did you grow up and how did your upbringing shape you into the woman that you've become?
I grew up at the intersection of several different worlds that shaped how I move through life and business today. And first and foremost, I was raised as a Muslim woman, and within our faith, there's a strong sense of service, community, and responsibility towards something greater than yourself, and helping those in need. So that was instilled in me from a very young age. And I also grew up in New York City, so that proximity to fashion from a young age was something that touched every part of what excited me and inspired me. And so not just luxury fashion, right? Not just the Fifth Avenue fashion, but things beyond that. I mean, I grew up in Queens, so we saw fashion as this visual language of style, identity, and culture. So it was always around me everywhere I went. And of course, being Indian, fashion takes on this other meaning of heritage through the creativity and color and textiles that are so part of who we are as an expression of, our roots. So that's kind of the background of how I grew up. And then eventually when life led me to Georgetown, that added another layer.
How did a good South Asian Muslim woman get to a Jesuit institution?
Sure. So, at the time I was living in what I call my past chapter. So I was in DC. I was working for the federal government, and I decided that I wanted to be someone who could communicate policy and work with the media and be that person who was missing from the rooms that I wanted to see more leadership in. And so I decided that for me, the best route would have been to go to Georgetown University and pursue the master's in public relations and corporate communications. I felt like that was that perfect missing piece to the next chapter of my life of who I wanted to be in not just in my profession, but in my goals as a person. So that's how I ended up at Georgetown. It was the perfect place for me, being already in public service and it being the foremost university, especially within this field in DC.
Wow. Amazing. So we'd like to take a step back, and we know you have a journey that kind of sparked a lot of what you do now. And I want to ask you more about that, but I didn't know if you want to share with our audience some of what brought you into creating the headpieces and wraps that you currently create. Sonya, you were 29 years old in the middle of chemotherapy, and instead of stepping back from life, you stepped into a fabric shop. Walk us through that moment. What was going through your mind when you first sat down at your mom's sewing machine and started experimenting with fabric after each infusion?
Wow. So I love this because this is kind of the origin story. And so fashion really revealed itself to me as a medicine that I didn't know that I had access to. And initially, I was in chemotherapy for a whole year. So that means
Wow.
every 3 weeks going in for an infusion to the hospital. And it just so happened that nearby my hospital was a fabric store, like a little mom and pop hole in the wall fabric store in Astoria, Queens. And, I'd gone through this whole process of trying to approach hair loss in a way that seemed logical. Like I spoke to my doctors about what might happen. When is the hair going to fall out? Is it going to be after the first round? No, it's going to be after the second round. Okay, you should have a wig and just be prepared. But really, when it started to fall out, I realized that it's so much more than your strands coming out of your follicles. It's a whole process, a whole turnover of your identity, and you don't really know what's hidden underneath that rock until you lift it up. And so for me, I tried so many different things. I even went blonde for a bit with a wig, and I tried to find these, other headpieces that could complement that because the wigs became uncomfortable for me being in chemo in the summertime,
It's
traveling back and
hot.
forth,
Yes.
right, between DC and New York, and DC gets really hot. And so I just got to a point where I wanted to pay more attention to my quality of life. And so I wanted the solution to the hair loss to be a little bit more intentional and more in line with what I needed at that time. So when I was looking for headpieces in stores, I really only found clinical caps like chemo beanies and then really high end designer pieces. And I really wanted something in between that focused on who I was and that inspired me to move forward on my path.
Yeah.
And so I figured I can't possibly do any worse than what I'm seeing outside because of course, like we said, I'm Indian and I felt like there's this like fashion in me that this creativity in me that I just felt like if I just try that maybe there's something there. So I ended up going to this fabric store and it started out as this like routine right after treatment. I would walk over a few blocks and it became my reprieve to be in those stacks of textiles before I went home and
Nice.
waited for the side effects of chemo to set in. And so I started experimenting with those silhouettes, that I was trying to kind of crack the code of what works for me as someone who didn't ever wear headwear before. And what surprised me was when I came up with the turban style, it just became about much more than my appearance. It changed my relationship with myself and my physical appearance, but then my identity underneath as well.
Yeah.
So, Sonia, can
Yeah.
you, I want to stop you for a moment.
Mhm.
Earlier we were having I was struggling with nomenclature.
Okay.
Words are very important.
Hmm.
So you used the word turban, and I
Hmm.
wasn't quite comfortable if I was supposed to use the word turban or headpiece. Can you kind of just give us a little mini lesson about which words we should be using?
Yeah, so I think when we're talking about the start of the journey, turbans are really the first type of design that I created. because they're the full coverage caps that are similar to what I'm wearing now. So that was the original design that was part of the need that I had at that time. And then through the evolution of the brand, we've added other items and other styles to the
Got it.
product varieties. So I guess if we're talking about the overall collection as it stands today, or just if we're just trying to use a catch-all word for all designs, then headpieces is fine. Headwear is fine as well. But
That's so
turban is,
much better than chemo beanie.
yeah, and chemo caps and all this stuff that, again, like no healthy woman is going to wear it. So what made someone think that a sick person would want to put this
Yeah.
on every day, right? So I think talking about headwear and headpieces as an all-encompassing to like as a catch-all phrase is good. Turban is just really specific to what I'm wearing right now. So unless you're
Got it.
talking to me about that specific thing, the first pieces I created, the full coverage style, and really the style that I think cancer patients come to us for because they are the full coverage pieces. Like those are the turbans. Outside of that, we can just say headpieces or headwear.
Thank you
Got it.
so
And
much.
can you guide us from the journey, which sounds so authentic, and I can see that as somewhat of a creative, therapeutic, and making your own designs. Can you guide us into how you realized that this was bigger than just your own personal collection and how it jumped to Style Esteem?
Yeah, I think there was a part of me that realized that fashion was simply not speaking to the woman who was facing challenges in her hair, especially those who are facing cancer and even alopecia. I personally was shocked that the category didn't already exist, and so I wanted to I wanted to go from being someone who thought, why me? Why is this happening to me? To understanding that perhaps I'm going through this experience because I'm meant to build something from it. And so that confidence to move forward and to create this bridge between two industries, fashion and health, just it came from realizing that my situation and my experiences had a bigger purpose than just my life. And so
Mhm.
that's really what gave me the confidence to go forward and to create something that hopefully inspires women to look for that piece of their identity during that hard time where it feels like that's been lost. Right.
And did you sew before you started making turbans?
No, actually, I'm completely self-taught. I had this childhood dream of being a fashion designer and, um,
Ah.
growing up in New York during 9/11, it got me thinking about, the world outside of New York itself. And
Mhm.
when I talked to my parents about fashion, they happened to just say, we came to this country for you to get a solid education. If you wanna do fashion after you go to college, that's fine with us,
Right.
but we need you to go secure yourself with a degree, and so I thought, I love fashion, but I'm also really interested in being part of, like we said, those rooms where decisions are made, and so,
Yes.
that's what inspired me to kinda go into international affairs and government, and, eventually my life path swung back around and led me to becoming a self-taught designer and, entrepreneur, but that's how it happened. Yeah.
Love that. And certainly along those lines, you've grown Style Esteem from a personal passion project to a globally recognized label with runway presence, celebrity clients, and a couture collection that debuted at Fashion Week.
Yeah.
Part of what makes Style Esteem so distinctive is how deeply you've rooted the brand in the history and cultural significance of the turban, which is a tradition spanning 4,000 years, while reframing it as a universal symbol of empowerment for every gender, cultural background, and hair journey. What was the hardest chapter of building this brand? So, building Style Esteem, and how has honoring your heritage shaped the way that Style Esteem shows up in the world today?
That's a great question, and it's something that, often stays with me when I'm reflecting on this journey is that I was trying to build a company while I was trying to rebuild myself, and cancer leaves you as kind of a blank canvas physically, mentally, and emotionally, and
Mm.
building Style Esteem really required me to show up creatively and publicly in those same spaces with, a mental, emotional, and physical bandwidth that I had to sort of reserve for the mission and for the brand and for the community while I was still healing privately. So, by the time I realized that the evolution itself is the beauty of it, it's something that I'm now thinking about 7 years out. So
Hmm.
it's that philosophy that's reflected in the pieces and the way they've evolved from being turbans to now couture collections. And heritage does show up in those moments because there's this strength and resilience that I feel comes from being an Indian woman that I've seen in generations that precede me. And a lot of the heritage garments that, we traditionally see our mothers wearing are associated with a female strength. And so being able to embody some of those qualities into our pieces and into our designs, like the fabrics and the trims that I hand source from whether it may be, the bazaars of Bombay or the garment district in New York. There's so much of that woven into all of what we create, and it's always in the mindset and in the ethos of any given collection.
I would love to
Beautiful.
come and carry your shopping bags either in Bombay
Oh my god,
or the Lower East Side. I'd be very happy to do that.
we would have so much fun. We would
We
never leave.
would.
My husband would be like, "Well, my job here is done." So,
I just need
Oh,
lunch.
Sonia, you don't know what you're getting yourself into.
yeah.
So, moving forward, Style Esteem's mission goes far beyond aesthetics, right? You've said that dressing like your authentic self is a radical act of self-love. Can you talk about the moment you witnessed that transformation in someone else? Whether it was a customer, a patient, a woman putting on a turban for the first time or a headpiece for the first time, and what that did to you.
Well, the earliest designs that I created were for my own wardrobe while I was going through treatment, and it really put me in this mindset of getting dressed up for every appointment. So when I was showing up for an infusion,
Nice.
I was dressed in comfortable clothes, but definitely something that made me feel excited to get out the door. So a pair of metallic pants, red lip, or a turban.
Stylish. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Love
for
that.
me, it was the fashion statement of it all was what I wanted to say to myself about me before I said anything to the world outside my door. But that statement carried into the doors of the infusion center. And when I would walk through those halls, that statement became a conversation starter. So I started engaging with other patients who were complimenting me on my outfit and, asking me kind of how do I put that together. And, I could see that they were interested in thinking about ways that maybe they could honor their own journey by embracing where they are at that moment. And so I started to think about this idea of donating headpieces. And this is where it did start, being from that public service background in my career and in my upbringing and wanting to have some goodness behind a fashion business, which is now, that we donate headpieces as well for each sold. It started all in that infusion center. When I realized that other women were interested in this, I decided to donate a few pieces. And I really saw not just a physical change, of course, putting on something beautiful, but a change in energy and a change in attitude. And I thought that that was something, that was so powerful that you have the power to create confidence in a situation where it seems like everything might be against you. And fast forward to today with our couture collections, it's that 5,000-year history of headwear in general that has touched all different types of people throughout history. And I just remind people that you're part of that lineage of royalty, of people that have adorned a crown in the past. And so, that has also put me in touch with some of our clients and followers that feel very seen by those one of a kind pieces that exemplify culture and heritage and religion, because you have a family, let's say, with multiple generations of women who are cancer survivors who now get to see their journey through a lens of beauty and as something that is more than just what they've been through, but the beauty that's come out of it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I love
I
that you talk about beauty because we still are women
Mhm.
and, we're human beings. And yes, we're having this experience of cancer or chemotherapy, but you still want to be beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. And so
Absolutely.
you mentioned service,
Mm.
and you talked about donating a few turbans and headpieces. Can you tell us a little bit more about Grace with Style initiative? And then how do you hold the dual identity of fashion entrepreneur and community leader? And what's your philosophy on how all of these roles feed each other?
Sure. So Grace with Style is actually a program that is named after my mannequin head that I had at that time called Grace. I bedazzled her with teal glitter, and
Love
she kind
that.
of went everywhere with me that I needed to, take off my wig, whether it was an infusion or surgery or something like that. But
Wow.
she really became a symbol for me of this option to show up beautiful and sparkly in the world. And to me, from the start of the journey, which was the diagnosis to, let's say, end of chemo, I realized that not only is hair loss so much more than the hair falling out and it being about identity and personal history, but it's also a lot of about how we show up for ourselves and how we care for ourselves. I think when we have different aspects of our beauty available to us, we kind of have a routine as women that we know we need to have our, nighttime skincare routine. We need to have a hair wash day. We need to have our special hair towels and like different things that we have. Each of us has a unique set of tools at our disposal, but when certain aspects of that go away, how do we continue to keep on showing up for ourselves? And what I realize is that when hair is out of sight, it's not necessarily out of mind. I didn't have one source that taught me how to navigate that. And so as I went through my journey, I collected different bits of, wellness, whether it's mental or physical, when it comes to the hair journey. And I decided to put that together into a content platform that goes along with Style Esteem to help women better navigate before, during, and after their hair loss. So that's one part of the Grace with Style program, is that educational platform where we have content on our website and we also show up in spaces like hospitals or nonprofit organizations to put on fashion shows and talk about, hair and scalp wellness. And then on the other side of that program is also this donation initiative where we do donate headpieces, one headpiece donated for each headpiece sold. And we work with different nonprofits and hospitals to make that happen. So patients who are really in need can have access to head coverings that are beautiful and comfortable right when they need them.
That is so beautiful. I thought about you. I was excited about the interview. My mom has her own health journey right now that she's going through after most recent stroke. And there was a beautiful nurse at the hospital. She's actually from West Africa, Nigeria, and wore the most beautiful headpieces. And my mom, who is definitely a stylish dresser in her day, would always comment, "Oh, how beautiful you are." She didn't comment on the piece, but I knew that that was part of her whole, gestalt, what she was taking in. And the next day, she brought her one. She brought her the identical hat, and I was taken aback. I was like, "But let me pay you for this." She said, "No, this is my gift." But it's kindness like that, and I'm sure what you're doing, I just know what it did for my mom, is just a beautiful addition to what you're offering, through your brand, but, offering that to people that are unexpecting that get that. So thank you for
Yes,
what you're
thanks for
doing.
sharing that with me. That's like
Yeah,
one queen crowning another. So I love that.
absolutely. Aw. So, and you talked about kind of the journey. So you get silks from Italy, artisan trims from Dubai, heritage fabrics from India, and this small batch production in New York City. You've made a very deliberate choice about how Style Esteem creates. So, why does craftsmanship matter so much to you? And what do you want women to understand about what they're actually wearing when they put on one of your pieces?
Sure. I want women to feel like they're walking with a piece of their story in their
Mm.
book when they wear one of our pieces. And that's really why there's so much detail and just uniqueness placed into any given headpiece that we create. Many of our designs are limited edition because they do use these rare items that are, selected from a place in the world at a particular time, not to be found again. And in that way, I feel that whether you're shopping, for a fashion purpose or for a health purpose, you are bringing parts of fashion history with you along the way on your journey too, as you write your own story. And I want people to know that they're not wearing something that's common or disposable in the world of fast fashion today. They're really wearing a piece of their own fashion history. And that's something that is like a very personal aspect of what we do, it being made as like a flash in time, any given design. So that's really the intention behind it. And it's something that's meant to stay as part of your wardrobe beyond any particular phase in your hair journey. And that's why the pieces, even though they do have these very heritage inspired elements, they are very fashion forward as well. So they are items that once you invest in, that they'll be with you forever.
And do we dry clean them? Do we hand wash them?
Great question.
What?
Yeah.
That was a good question.
Yeah, so that's a great question. We get asked this a lot. So, unlike some companies where maybe the focus is just a sensitive scalp or just long wear or one particular need, we actually have such an array of designs that focus on all kinds of different needs that a woman might have. So you might have something that is great for like loungewear, and you might have something that's great for a gala, and something in between as well, activewear, and so forth. And so each piece has a unique fabrication, and I would say you really have to just check the product listing before you go ahead and care for your piece, because depending on the material, there might be different instructions, but you might have like hand wash with gentle soap and water, or you might just have a spot clean situation if there's like beading and
Adornment.
pearls and sequins
Yeah.
or feathers,
Very
dare I
good.
say. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I was like, I'm gonna have multiple headpieces in my wardrobe. I need to make
Yes.
sure they're looking good. And do you recommend that we put them on Grace? So you had Grace, your head, you know what I'm trying to say.
The
The
mannequin, yeah.
mannequin,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I think so when we send out headpieces, we send them in a very pretty satin bag with like a little sheer panel in the front so you can see what's inside. So if you are traveling or if you just want to, place these items in a drawer and take them out as needed, that's perfectly fine. There's also, I mean, as you can see behind me, I love displaying my favorite pieces
They're
because it just
beautiful.
bring
They're
me joy.
artwork. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
they bring a sense of like a reminder of like everything that's beautiful about my journey to me every day when I walk into the studio. I get to see that, and it's that reminder of why I'm here. And so if it brings you happiness to see these pieces displayed, I 100% recommend it's worth it to, find a mannequin that suits you and to display your pieces. Especially if it's something that you need that reminder of. I think fashion is a great reminder that way. Like I wear a ring that I bought after chemo, and it reminds me that I'm a survivor. It's engraved and it says
Mhm.
survivor inside of it. So it's these little things
Okay.
that fashion can just be our superhero cape, if we want it to be.
Thank you. That's terrific. So I think of you as you're a communicator, a PR professional, a fashion designer, a survivor, a cancer survivor, an entrepreneur. So one thing would you tell your 29-year-old self uh, as far as your journey and some just advice to your younger self?
Yeah, if I could sit across from a 29-year-old Sonia, I would tell her that experimentation itself is a form of self love, and trying something new, whether it's like a garment or a career path or just tapping into the next chapter of who you are as a person, that's how you build confidence. And so it's not necessarily through certainty, but it's through that exploration process that you can find that confidence in you. And I would tell her that if she thinks that she's lost, it's probably not the case. She's probably just evolving into something far more aligned with where she wants to be, and that you're in that process of evolution. And if anyone is listening and they need that encouragement to take that leap, I would say confidence is not something you arrive with. It's something you build by continuing to show up.
You're so right. Thank you.
Mm.
Show up. Half the battle in life, I think, is showing up. So we just keep showing up. We keep showing up and
Yeah.
moving forward.
Yeah. Choosing to do so through the noise that we have sometimes, especially as women. I mean, I feel that when you do show up, it's something so powerful. It's such a statement to yourself. And I think we should all savor that as well. I don't think that's something that we should gloss over either.
That's excellent advice. We thank you. And along the lines of taking good care of ourselves, both mentally and physically, we'd love to know a little bit more about your self care regime. We love to ask our guests what your personal journey looks like, and maybe share some non negotiables that you use to protect your energy, your creativity, and your joy.
So my self-care journey is always being worked on every single day that I get up. I try to take
I
better and
love that.
better care of myself. It's never in a perfect state, I would say, but the foundation for all of that, for the ability to show up and to have the courage to be present in this journey, prayer is the foundation for that for me. Being spiritually present every day has really helped me. And it's something that I leaned very much into during treatment, and it's stayed with me and it's made me a stronger person for it. In addition to that, I would say rest and nourishing my body is a non negotiable. I mean, I have my goals in that area and I try to stay as close to possible as I can, knowing that some days it doesn't work that way, but it's having a goal and a standard, I think that helps you sort of move in the right direction every day. And outside of the physical stuff, I also love to intentionally create these spaces for inspiration outside of my studio. So whether that's like going on a day date with myself and visiting a fashion exhibit, or just walking through a different neighborhood, or traveling, or just simply observing, different displays of culture, whether it's a show or something like that. I'm very aware that creativity needs room to breathe. I think when you expose your mind to these different spaces, it brings you this ability to let down your boundaries as to what's possible. And beyond that, like I said, I've stopped expecting perfection from myself. I really believe in small, consistent acts of self-care, and just this idea that healing starts in a very basic format. It can just be sleep, hydration, movement, and taking some quiet time for yourself. I think that that's an excellent thing and should not be downplayed at all, especially given how busy our lives are today. I think those things are really important basics. And to someone who's like wanting some encouragement in this area, I would say small steps are more powerful than you might realize, not just to get yourself physically in a place of self care, but also to build trust with yourself. And over time, that trust kind of fuels into your confidence, your energy, your creativity, and hopefully your joy as well.
I love all of that. I'm gonna take away the date with myself for sure. I
Yeah.
like that sentiment. You have shared so much with us today. The fact of showing up for yourself, I think, is one of my main takeaways, and that for you, taking care of yourself and the fashion that you chose to display for yourself first, but then it definitely showed others. And it's just those small acts that we sometimes do for ourselves that actually brighten someone else's day or
Mm.
inspire someone else to do the good in the world. So we could certainly talk to you all day, Sonya. I think the listeners would let us. We thank you so much for the gift of your story, your vision, and your heart. And you reminded every woman listening today that resilience is not just surviving, it's creating something so beautiful out of your struggle that it becomes a crown for someone else.
And if today's episode moved you, and I know it moved me, we want you to do three things. First, find Style Esteem wardrobe and explore the collection. Whether you're on your hair journey of your own or you simply want to wear something that is beautiful and made with intention and love, then there's something there for you. Second, share this episode with a woman in your life who needs to hear it. You know who she is. And third, leave us a review. It helps more people to find Boss Leap and to find our community.
And I would be remiss if I did not give you an opportunity, Sonya, if you have anything that you want to share with our listeners. Certainly, we're going to add all of your contact information in the show notes, but if you want to share that as well. Any parting words?
Sure. I just hope that everyone listening today remembers that they have a bit of royalty in them and that they just have to crown it. It's something that you can decide what that looks like for you, but never forget that you have that royalty in you. And I would be remiss if I'm on a podcast sharing my story, especially with two incredible doctors, and did not tell people to do their monthly breast self-exam. I've started a movement on my platform, especially being, of an Indian and Muslim background, a place where it's a little bit taboo sometimes to talk about breast health. I've started this movement called #Glam Self-Exam to remind women that knowing your breast health can be a most empowering and beautiful thing. And just to drive the point home, I do my breast self-exam in all kinds of places. If you go to our feed, you'll see that we just launched our Dubai collection. And yes, I did do my breast self-exam atop a camel in the middle of the night in the
Oh,
desert.
wow.
Love that.
Yes.
Yes.
Anywhere.
So
Love
#glam self-exam.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to join that movement where, you just feel like you're in a moment of empowerment and you want to share that you're doing your breast self-exam, please post with that hashtag and I'd love to support you as well. I think you asked as well about our social media handles.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'd encourage everyone to hop online and connect with us. You can explore all of our styles, the entire collection at styleesteem.com. That's StyleEsteem.com. That's like self-esteem, but with style. And then you can find us on social media on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Style Esteem. And if you want to connect with me, I'm on Instagram at Sonya.styleesteem, SONYA.STYLEESTEEM.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So, Boss Leapers, thank you for spending time with us. We do not take it lightly, and we know that you have a choice to be here, and we are so glad that you've chosen today.
And remember, the leap is not the scary part. The leap is where you find out who you really are. So we will see you next Wednesday. May you be well.
May you be well.
That's a wrap on another episode of Boss Leap. May this conversation enlighten your path toward personal growth and professional empowerment. For more thought-provoking and eye-opening discussions like this one, head to our website at bossleappodcast.com. Always remember to celebrate your wins and trust yourself. A positive mindset can push you out of your comfort zone and into far greater heights. Until next time, may you be well.
Before we go, there's one more thing the lawyers have asked us to include. It's the legal language, and you know how doctors love lawyers. This podcast is presented only for educational and entertainment purposes. Although we are doctors, on this show, we are just your friends. This podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of your physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals. Understood? Awesome. We'll see you in the next episode.